So you want to buy an investment rental property. Do you really know all the benefits that comes with it or what all it takes to get one? If you do, great. If not, let me run you through some of the benefits of owning investment properties and why the rich do it. And then I'll tell you the first 5 steps needed to buy your very own first rental property. So let's dive in. Now, most people think that you buy rental properties for passive income and cash flow. And while that is true, there are actually a few other benefits that people often overlook. These are benefits that come with owning real estate versus other investment vehicles that are out there. So what am I talking about? Well, the first benefit is the growth in the value of the property over time, otherwise known as appreciation. Real estate in the United States has always increased in value in the long run in almost every situation and in almost every market. And there are only a few areas that it hasn't. But the vast majority of Americans that have invested in real estate have made money if they've held their assets for a long term. Now, I say long term because, as I've mentioned in my other videos, real estate appreciation is a great hedge against inflation. The second benefit is not actually cash flow, although cash flow is a byproduct of collecting rent, and it is certainly a benefit. But you see, the second benefit to owning an investment property is principal pay down over time on a loan or a mortgage. So essentially, when your tenant pays you rent, they are paying off your mortgage for you. And everything left over underneath that, after maintenance, utilities, property management, etc., is the extra cash flow that you get each month on top of that. So just think about that. Not only are you getting cash flow monthly, but you're also building equity in the property through appreciation and loan paydown. So those are the first 2 benefits. And the last benefit, and often one that people overlook, is the benefit of depreciation. Depreciation is a huge tax write-off that can help lower your annual taxes. And if you even have enough real estate, you might honestly be able to pay no taxes. I'll cover this concept later in another video, but those are the 3 main reasons that it's beneficial to own investment real estate outside of traditional cash flow. So with those benefits outlined, how do you actually buy your first property, and why isn't everybody a real estate investor? Well, truthfully, it takes a lot of homework and upfront work, and a lot of people are simply too lazy or lack the self-discipline to save up and get the momentum really started. If you happen to be somebody who is willing to do the work, then here are the 5 tips that I would keep in mind when buying your first rental property. So step 1 would be to do your homework. And I'm sure you've heard that before. So what exactly do I mean by that? Essentially, start learning everything you can about owning investment properties. You can do that by watching YouTube videos like you are right now from people who are already investing. You can read books like Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or books from Bigger Pockets. All are great resources. And also, you want to make sure that you learn the terminology, because you want to be well educated when you go into the deals. So you need to know not only the terminology, but what they actually mean and how they relate to properties, such as cap rates, NOI, cash flow, cash on cash, RUBS, etc. There's a lot of them out there, so make sure you study hard. As part of the homework assignment, you may want to also kind of start figuring out what your financing would look like, as well as what you'd be pre-approved for. This also includes looking into how to analyze properties. So when you do find the right deal, or the right deal presents itself, you know how to run the numbers quickly and make a decision fast. There are tons of resources online, both free and paid, as well as free calculators to help you crunch the numbers on your first rental. Us personally, we used to use those all the time until we eventually built our own template through Excel that we use on every deal now. But when we were first starting out, we used a lot of the free resources found online. Okay, so you feel good about studying up, you've done all your homework, and now it's time for step number 2, which is finding an agent or broker. This is an important step, and it's actually one you could potentially do at the same time as number 1, because the agent will act as an advisor who will also guide you through your first deal. My recommendation would be to interview a few agents or brokers, not just one, and make sure you ask if they actually own their own investment real estate. There are a lot of agents and brokers out there who will happily represent you, but they don't necessarily own any real estate of their own. So it's always wise to make sure that you find someone who has experience owning so that they can pass off that same knowledge that they already know onto you. Not to mention, they will also likely have a lot of contacts for you to leverage, such as contractors, property managers, lenders, and a whole Rolodex of different contacts that you can lean on. Now, depending on where you live, I would start with the larger commercial brokerages and work your way down, assuming that you're going over multifamily assets. And you can easily see who the larger ones in your area are by just doing a simple Google search. The big three across the nation are primarily CBRE, JLL, and Cushman & Wakefield. And you can also look at using more of a residential focused firm like KW or Compass if you are truly going after single family homes or even really duplexes. Some of the larger firms will help you with the duplexes, but you can get away with using more of a traditional residential realtor for that. Okay, so now on to step 3, which is the fun part. You get to start looking for properties. You need to do your homework and you need to have your agent picked before you even start looking at properties. Whether you're reaching out or looking at properties, not only will your agent help you identify properties that you may not be thinking about or looking at, but they can quickly tell you whether you should or shouldn't look at a certain property based on their market experience and knowledge, which in the end will probably save you a lot of time and potentially money. If you were doing all this on your own, and let's say you skipped ahead and did it as number 1, well, you may pick properties that aren't worth your time. Truthfully, it could detract you from finding some of the better deals. Keep in mind, since this is your first deal, you really won't have very much credibility, and you'll likely need to submit multiple offers. By submitting multiple offers, you'll eventually find one and get one under contract, but don't just throw out any offer. Make sure that you're really analyzing the deal and doing your homework and making sure that the property makes sense for you. Make sure to run your numbers, run it by your agent, and make sure that you get as much feedback as you possibly can. But keep in mind, because you don't have a proven track record, a lot of sellers may choose buyers with proven track records who have closed on deals before, even if your deal might be more attractive or have a slightly higher price, just because you've never closed a deal before, so they're unsure if you'll actually finish escrow. It's common in commercial real estate, so again, don't let that hurt your pride. Just move on to the next deal and keep chugging away until you find one that works for you. Okay, so step number 4, and this is the big moment. Welcome to the big leagues. You have an offer agreed to, and it's time to enter escrow. The escrow period is where you do a lot of the in-depth due diligence that you didn't do on the front end. So be sure to ask a lot of questions, follow up with your agent regularly, and just monitor the escrow process as much as you can. You also want to make sure that you hire professional property inspectors and make sure that it's a thorough group, somebody that goes up on the roof and checks all the pipes underneath, the foundation, everything. Line up insurance for the property, work on getting your financing figured out. And remember, that was something from step number 1, so you should already have a pretty good idea of where rates are going to be when you close and what numbers you're going to be looking at from a down payment standpoint or a loan to value ratio. You're also going to want to make sure that you verify all the tenant leases, the utilities, and any other underlying things that may impact your cash flow. Your agent can help guide you through this, but it's another one of those homework moments where doing your homework up front will really save you a lot of time, headaches, and potentially money down the road. So it's important that you do your due diligence. And finally, step number 5. Before the property closes or just thereafter, assuming you don't want to do it yourself, you'll want to find a good property manager. All property managers vary in quality, cost, experience, and specialty. So interview as many as you can and ask around. Lean on your agent because they should be able to recommend a few, maybe even ask the seller because they also may have worked with a few in the past and might be able to help you get up and running. Another good tactic is to reach out to people in your network who own rental properties, and that would be a good time to leverage those friends and relationships to see if they have any contacts that they can share with you. Remember, a good property manager can actually add value to your property over time by staying on top of maintenance, repairs to the exterior and interior, achieving above market rents, managing your tenants or evictions or any other issues that may arise. And again, it may seem like a cost, but I've always thought of it more as having a return down the road. Well guys, I hope that this has helped you and given you some ideas about jumping into your first property. And again, don't be afraid. I know that there's a lot to learn, but that's also what's really exciting about it. Be sure to do your homework and ask a ton of questions. There's a great landlord community out there, and almost every issue or question has come up at some point in time before, so somebody on the forums can help answer it for you. Thanks again for watching today's video, and I'll be sure to see you next time.